Alrighty. This is a money Twitter meetup, meta ads, brand building special episode. We'll just start it there and jump in. So, Mason, meta ads at scale. I'm Ben, the Tell Truth at the Tell Truth, and how do we connect? It was the client ascension event.
Yeah, we first connected, I think it was over Telegram before the client ascension event. I think you're like the only guy that had an Ecom brand there maybe.
Yeah.
And you knew that I ran ads, so you like reached out before, so I'm like, I don't know, maybe, I don't remember. We just met at client ascension.
We did.
Yeah.
So someone, because I was just into all the ad stuff on Twitter, and I was going to the event just for fun basically, because I wasn't in client ascension. Those guys are awesome, so shout out to them. And I think are you in the program?
I'm not in it, yeah.
Anyways, I was going to the event, but I was like literally, I think in my car before like listening to like meta ads, like podcasts and stuff, because that's what I do. And somehow your stuff popped up on Twitter. I think I like went to your bio or something and then like DM'd you, and then you were like at the event basically. So I think we met up the next day basically, which was kind of wild. But yes, that was
October, I think.
October, yeah.
October 2023.
And at that point, so I was a few months into, I had launched in the spring, but I was scaling my brand. You were doing stuff, and I didn't really know what you were doing at the time, but you were basically just getting ready to kick off your like program.
I had just started my program, Meta Ads at Scale. Actually, my program started last June, actually beta. It was like a beta launch for the first 4 months, and then I kind of really opened it up to the public kind of that fall of 2023.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sweet. So I want to, because I was kind of been meaning to ask you this stuff anyways, but like what's your like brief backstory for, like you ran ads, I think for like another brand, you started running ads, like you started your agency, now you got this program, and it was a big like vision for that and stuff. But yeah, why don't you just give like the back?
Yeah, my backstory, which a lot of people might not know, out of college, I studied finance in college, thought I was gonna work for like hedge fund, private equity. Didn't really try in college, so no one wanted to give me a job. I ended up applying for a media buyer job. I didn't even know what a media buyer was. It was like a Facebook ad agency and they made me take this like math test and everything, and I like whatever crushed it all, and I became a Facebook ad buyer. This was like 2016, and within 2 months of working there, I was their best ad buyer, which is kind of weird because there was like a bunch of older people that were like didn't like me pretty quickly. So I ran ads like Fashion Nova. That was when they first were around. I ran ads for them. Pretty Little Thing. A lot of these bigger brands now this was when Facebook ads was crazy. Like any brand would pop off on there.
Yeah, like 2017.
Yeah, it was like it was the golden age for meta ads or Facebook ads at the time. Then I wanted to work at a brand, or I want to work at a brand that had a potential to like IPO. I just had that like finance dream, and I ended up finding Ruggable. I was one of the first founding employees, like 6th employee there.
Mm-hmm.
They'd only had a 1 million in revenue when I joined, and then scaled them up to 500 million in a year, 3 years in a row.
500 million.
Yeah, 500 million. Yeah. So from 2018 to 2024, actually, I just left Ruggable April of 2024. Launched them into Europe, the UK, Australia. They're a multi-billion-dollar company now, and that's where a lot of my ad spend has come from, through Ruggable, and that's kind of how I learned Google Ads, Pinterest, TikTok, email marketing. I kind of learned everything there, and that's kind of what's given me the unique ability to kind of coach people, because I saw it all done at the highest level. So
no, that's great. And you told me this, but I mean, Ruggable, they sell rugs. Is that the main? Is it rugs? Is it custom rugs? What is the product?
Yeah, Ruggable, they're the original washable rug, essentially.
Okay.
So like they were the first ones to kind of make washable rugs for the home. That actually, all the rugs in here are Ruggable. But yeah, we kind of just disrupted the whole rug industry pretty quickly.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So that's before, and then you obviously developed the skill. You got the credibility. And so this whole time, are you starting to think, I can take this skill somewhere else or start my own brand, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, so my money Twitter journey really happened like 2020. I don't know why, I just started going on Twitter think obviously we had free time, right? And
Yeah.
it was actually before COVID though. I remember like January, I started to like, we're seeing Marco, Colty's tweets. I think, you know, Cold Email Wizard, right? So I started seeing all the guys.
Into it.
And Kill Crew launched, and then, you know, for the first like basically 2 years, I just kind of was in the background, not doing anything. And then shout out to Nick and Logan from Launch Socials. When they launched Launch Socials, I had no idea how to build a personal brand.
Yeah.
I had started posting a little bit about meta ads, but that's when I really I joined the program, and that's when I really just started posting all the time on Twitter. And my following's not even big now, but you know, I was able to grow my following, and then people just kept hitting me up, you know, wanting me to run their ads, but I only wanted to, you know, for my agency, I really only want to work with like bigger companies. So I was like, how can I like help all these people that need help with their ads? And then I came up with this, like, you know what, I can just deliver the same exact agency strategy that I would do for my agency clients, but now I give it to them as a brand, and we work through it together one-on-one versus myself and my team doing it, because I can't run everyone's ads, but I can, you know, help everyone with their ad strategy essentially. So
yeah, no, it's sweet. And honestly, until you're like, I don't know, I would say like well beyond like even like 5 million, like that's the way to go. You don't want, I'd say you don't want an agency doing it, and you need to learn it, and that's what I liked about your approach. But so you were there. Did you see Kill Crew launch? Like, were you there before, like on Twitter? Like, because I know they did that. They launched their group basically like documented, but that was before.
Yeah, that was like right before I was on there.
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
But I bought the playbook like.
Okay, so you were in there.
I'm still in there, yeah. But I didn't end up launching a brand. I had a brand. I have a few brands actually that I'm eventually gonna go launch. But
yeah.
I'm on these other side quests right now, helping other people launch their brands.
For sure. Okay, yeah. So you get on there. That's around the same time I got on there. I think I heard like Dickie Bush on a different podcast talking about Twitter, and I had never thought of Twitter as like a business platform, but I was already into the podcast, so I got on there, ended up in like that copywriting niche, which was probably like, this is still like I guess like a year and a half before like we ended up meeting.
Yeah.
Because I got into like the freelancing, copywriting stuff, ecom space because of that. But sweet. So yeah, then you start Logan and Nick, you start posting, and dude, that's what's crazy is like, even to your point about you didn't have that big of a following, and I don't either, but like I'm trying to tell people like you don't need that big of a following. You start making connections, and like one or two clients or one or two like people, just like it can change your life. It can change your trajectory, your career, like all that stuff. So I think people need to hear that.
But like you were saying, you know, meeting one or two people can change your life, and that's, I mean, really, a lot of the guys on Twitter have, like Max Grantham, you know, owns RevScale email marketing agency. He became one of my good friends, actually lives near me, met him off Twitter. He's connected me with so many people, changed my life in a ton of ways, gained a new friend, also gained tons of connections through that. And I mean, it's so weird. I tell my family they don't really understand Twitter, but I was like, dude, this literally has changed my life. It's changed my life. I mean, you know, all my friends are from the internet now. You know, it's like the people that actually you can relate to a lot, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. It's weird because even now, like I talk to some people and they're like, oh, like how did you start like learning some of this stuff, or like what do you point back to? And some of it was for sure just like consuming like a stupid amount of content, stupid amount of podcasts, but like it was. Twitter definitely just kind of like, I say just like brainwashed me into like a different mindset where I was capable of doing things. And now looking at like what we're building, I would never have thought that it was even possible. But yeah, you just get these chads on there, you know, normalizing $100,000 months or whatever. And you're like, okay, I guess I'm doing that too. So
no, it's so funny because I remember when I was doing nothing a month and I thought 10K a month was like,
dude.
And then now everyone, you know, I'm in Jeremy Haynes' mastermind, and he makes me feel.
Oh, I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, he makes me feel poor.
Yeah.
If you're not doing $1 million a month, he like basically makes you feel like shit about yourself.
Yeah, I love that, because I've said this literally I think like 5 times in the past like month, just talking to people. I never finished the book, Think and Grow Rich, but like I do remember one like concept or line from the beginning of the book where he was like, you make money first in your mind and then in real life, or something like that.
Yeah.
And at the time I was like, that's nice. Like I'm broke. I don't get that. But what started happening was literally because of like Twitter. Same thing. The 10K month was like the pinnacle, and then I got there, and that was crazy. And then I was like, okay, what's next? And that's when I kind of stopped, like switched from just freelancing to I was like, I want to start a brand. I want to start my own thing. And I was like, even if I could, double or triple this with the brand, like that'd be crazy. And then I was working with another brand, Hostage Tape, and seeing them scale, and like once again just normalizing those numbers. I was like, oh damn, like you can do 10, 100, a million. They hit $1 million a month, and I was like, this is insane. And I still didn't think I'd get there, but now it's just like that number is getting normalized in my mind for, it's like, okay, when the time's right, like that's just gonna happen. I just know it.
Yeah,
it's so crazy.
How long did it take, like from idea to like selling your first product for the Tell of the Truth? Like how what was that time frame, would you say?
Yeah, so it was the incubation and the idea for even before like some of the product stuff was definitely there longer. So I think it was going back like, because we launched May of 23, but even a year before, I was thinking about the audience that I wanted to serve, which was kind of this like freedom angle, this kind of like based health kind of reclaiming your health, like because of the stuff that came out of COVID.
Yeah.
Funny enough, like early ideas I had for that was like actually like a cologne. Like I had some different ideas for what it was gonna be, but I'd been like the carnivore kind of space for like a long time, so it was like it was like a combination of knowing the audience I wanted to serve, being on Twitter, learning, like definitely inspired by Van Man. And just putting those pieces together, I was like, okay, I know the brand that I want to launch. This product is what makes sense. And then I think at that point it was like March to May, so it was like 3 months. And then we launched. Yeah, it's pretty quick. Once I knew it was gonna be, it was pretty quick. And it launched end of May 23.
So actually more about the Tell the Truth. Like what we connect every now and then.
Yeah.
I know we're always busy.
Yeah.
And if you'll like randomly have a question, I'll just answer you, and then we won't talk again for a long time. But like get me up to speed. Where is the Tell the Truth? Like what have you been up to, and like what do you how do you see the rest of the year going?
Yeah. So launched last May. Started scaling. Met you in November, and that was when. And like one really cool thing actually to note, and this goes back to like going to events, meeting people, was like a few different people along the journey kind of just like spoke different things into my life where it opened up new possibilities. So at the time, I think you were saying, oh, you can definitely, the US is right there. You can literally duplicate your ads into the US and it's a 10x the market. And I was like, oh yeah, like I guess I knew that, but I just needed someone to say that. So it was we'd had a good, like October was the best month yet, but then I think right after that I literally just duplicated campaigns to the US, and they work just as well there. It's like the same thing and just a much bigger audience. So it was that move that got us to the first six-figure plus month, like right after that. So that was kind of cool. And then so that was in the fall, and basically it was just like continuing to do more of what worked after that. Had kind of confidence in the product, in the brand, in the just the audience like that I was building as a result of the ads and the email list. And the email is really my strength. Like that's where I came from, copywriting, emailing, and so just seeing, like, gaining more confidence in the brand was like, okay, let's push harder. So I don't want to get into like too many specifics number wise, but we had the first 6-figure plus month like in November, and then we've continued to push that since then. We kind of broke we were doing this out of my house, so family was helping out and stuff like that, because we make the products, we do it all, we fulfill the orders, everything like that. So it was pretty wild, like few months of growth, and so we kind of broke things like in March, I think it was. No, February. February was the biggest month. We have a freedom sale in February that I kind of invented. It was like we're doing it, you know, back to the Corkery boys. They're like, you know, don't run discounts, stuff like that. So the goal was to be a premium brand, not just run, you know, a sale every month.
Yeah.
But it's like I decided as like, hey, Black Friday is the big one. Then the other one we're doing is this freedom sale because of the trucker convoy that went on up in Canada back in 2022, and it was end of February.
Oh, so it's like an anniversary
Yeah, it's
sale.
like the anniversary, so it's the freedom sale. And so we ran that, and that was crazy. Like, it was like a second, like, Black Friday, and so that was, like, crazy to see. But after that, it was like, hey, it was insane. Like, the operations were a mess. It was, yeah, shout out Steve, my guy who was with me from the start, and my sister, because they were troopers, but, like, everyone was burning out. It was too much. So we slowed things down, got a new space, got like some better equipment, like really started building real systems.
Yeah.
And that's honestly just been coming into like really stabilizing the last few months here. So we're in a really good place now. Got the help we need, got the kind of equipment we need, like just sorting out supply chains. I had another brother who joined full time to run operations. So we're really getting solid now. And then the plan is to just, we make a handful of tallow products right now, but got plans for other products as well. That's where I really get excited, is just like the creativity around the different, not only the products, but like the ways that you sell them. Because people even who end up seeing this or whatever, like, you know, there's tallow brands are a dime a dozen right now, and they're popping up every day, which is great, but they're also, you know, it's competition as well. So I'm always, you know, cheering people on, but at the same time trying to get creative about how we can position our brand. And that's one thing I am excited about and proud of since the start, is kind of really unapologetically speaking to our audience. The in a sentence being kind of the pro freedom tallow brand was the idea from the start, and speaking to that audience and kind of putting our marketing, you know, in that frame has been our strength and what we do. So yeah, dude, it's exciting. It's so cool too. Like, I'm inspired by other brands, like even more recently, Masa Chips. I don't know if you've tried.
I actually ate Masa Chips in Hawaii.
Okay, no way. So I heard their founder on a podcast too, and it was funny because he reached out to me on Instagram before, because I think they want to do like tallow products as well. But anyways, hearing their vision inspired me, because I was thinking big, but those guys are thinking big. He comes from venture capital.
Oh, really?
And they they've got a big vision. And when you look at it, like in terms of, okay, you got personal care products, that's a massive category. You've got chips and snacks. Like, so when you start to just zoom out and look at some of the ways that some of these products that use like tallow, that use animal fats, can just, you know, start to take up some of this like $1 billion market. It's like there's room for lots of players. There's room for tons of awesome new brands, and like this space is huge. So I think, yeah, it's just exciting.
Do you see your brand move, like, I think, you know, you're D2C, right? Are you on TikTok Shop?
So no, that's actually an interesting one. Not on TikTok Shop. We've been basically 90% Shopify right from the start.
You guys are on Amazon, you said.
We are on Amazon, yeah, dude. That's been a gong show, actually. I had no idea how messy Amazon could get. We talked about that just briefly, but we're getting counterfeited from China, like literally.
Dude, I actually, after we chatted, I searched your name, and I started seeing like all these like fake brands on there.
It's wild, and I just saw I felt very vindicated. I just saw a big thread from I don't know if you know Sean Frank Ridge Wallet. Yeah, awesome Ecom guy, awesome info, and he just like summed it all up. He's like Amazon no longer seems to care that the brands who, you know, go there and register and all their brand registry and stuff literally can just get ripped off, and you lose the buy box is what it is on Amazon, which is like, I had no idea, dude. We go to Amazon, we start ripping back in the spring, and I'm like, holy shit, this is going to be another 6-figure month channel, like 2 months. And then one day, like, the sales just stop, and it's like, what the heck? And sure enough, I go on there and I'm like, this isn't like this is another seller, but they can hop on your listing. So when you create a listing on Amazon, you technically don't own the listing. You've just created a new listing on Amazon. And if someone has a lower price or
claims they have the same product,
claims it's the same product, it's weird, but Amazon will just give them the option, and then they literally seem, and people don't know, like consumers don't know. They're like, oh, it's your product, and it clicks through to your store, and it's like, yeah, but if you like, first of all, it ships from China, and second of all, if you look under the listing, it's like sold by, you know, Jing Zhang. Yeah. Like, and so, anyways, that's just a brief aside. That I don't know if it'll even be the channel I thought it could be. We have trademarks pending, stuff like that. But even then, it's a whole other game. So I think the plan is to just go harder on our own channel, our own website, and we'll have to see what happens there. But
what about like retail? Like, do you foresee like getting into like grocery stores? I feel like I personally have not seen any towel yet. I feel like it could be interesting. It'll be like the big corporations are gonna like try and fight it off. So I was just wondering, like, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think you'll ever try and get into retailers or even like Erewhons, you know, like health stores, or like what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's an interesting category of commerce that I don't know that much about. I did get approached by a health chain like up in Canada that has like 16 stores, which kind of surprised me that they got in touch, and I got on a call, and they're like, yeah, we like love your brand, we want like your stuff. And I was kind of like, as long as you know what the brand's about, and like, you know, we kind of unfiltered. And they're like, yeah, we love that. And I was like, okay, that surprises me, but cool, like we can chat. So I guess like the short answer is like yes, but the longer answer is I think timing's important. I've got a good kind of mentor who I was talking to about that, and it's easy to kind of almost like dilute yourself early on and introduce factors that can be out of your control when it comes to creating like how your brand is perceived in the market. So I'll just give a quick example. It's like I was thinking about that, and then I was literally in that store, and another brand that I won't name them, but like I don't think they're that healthy, but they're positioned as one of these like healthy brands. Anyways, I see that I knew them, but I see them you know, in the store, and they're literally in the little, you know, cardboard box or whatever. But then this health food store has slapped like the 25% off discount, you know, it's just basically looking like nobody wants this shit. And I'm like, there's no way, like we've got real scarcity right now, and we you know, we charge not premium prices, but we charge well. And so to me, that's just, it's such a bad look if, you know, you give them your product and then they're, you know, slinging it and saying 25% off. Like, it can just tank a lot of the trust you build with your customers. Or they're like, you know, why are you 30% off at, you know, Healthy Planet? And it's like, no, I don't want to be. But if you give up that's what happens. You sometimes give up some of those decisions when you go to retail. So there'll be a time, but I don't think it's yet. And I think another thing to think about, and what I've learned and encourage people with your own brand is like, there's so many distractions and options, especially when you get some momentum. Like you mentioned TikTok Shop, which I'd be curious to hear kind of your take on as well. But like, if you have something working, double down on that. I'd say that's like been the biggest thing for us. It's like, I got Meta Ads working, and I was like, there's so many shiny objects, but I was like, this works, let's do more of this. Like even Amazon now, I'm like, gosh, this has been like tens of thousands of dollars and a distraction that now has not amounted to what I thought it was going to be. And it's like, okay, maybe, you know, even until, I don't know, like 10 million, if you get one channel working, like just push it as far as it'll go. So I think that's the takeaway. That's a big one, where a lot of brands, they want to get cute and do everything. And and most people have no idea how far you can go on Meta. Like I said, I've done it. I've spent almost $100 million a year on one brand on Meta. Obviously, it's a unicorn brand product. I got, you know, lucky that I was part of that company, but a lot of times Meta all you need is Meta, Google branded search, and email, basically. You know, 100%, man. And I'd seen that with the brand I worked with, and then I experienced that, and then even hearing you talk about, you know, the amount you can spend, and then also just listening to some people who know what they're doing, because like that was another thing. Like there's so many people, you know, shilling out their ecom advice, or like, here's the TikTok Shop play, or this or that. But it's like, if you can start listening to, you know, a few of those people who have who've done, A+ figures and kind of identified like, what worked for them to get there. And there are different ways, but I started to just hear the same thing where it's like, hey, if you get Facebook ads working, like that is a big deal because a lot of brands really struggle with that. And that's the stuff you work on, which is cool. But if you get it working, I mean, you can, break even or your unit economics work to grow and acquire customers on Facebook. It's like, keep doing that. Do more of that. And you probably see this all the time or get excited about it. I don't do a lot of like calls, but I do like to encourage brands who are early on because getting meta ads working was like life-changing for me. It helped really grow the brand. But from the outside looking in, I'll be like, dude, their ads are starting to work. They just need to get their AOV up a little bit. And I'm like, you're a hop, skip, and a jump away from being able to scale this thing, which is, maybe you can speak to that a little bit because you see this happen. These brands come in, and they've got a good product, they've got things working, and they are ready to pour gas on the fire. So actually, two things on that. One is, what does Facebook kind of like work for now? Because it's not like 2017 anymore. It's not like you can just rip any old ad to any old like drop shipping page and make sales that way. It's more difficult, but at the same time, if you have the right pieces, and this is what you see with the success stories in your program, it's like you can take these brands from doing 10, 20K a month to 100K plus. So
yeah, I think the main thing is, I've been speaking about this a lot recently, just with my sales calls for the program, and then also and within the coaching calls, is that like the market has sophisticated, right? And the consumer has sophisticated, right? Where they expect more now, and you got to have, I don't want to say bells and whistles, but like everything has to be dialed. Everything has to be at the tip-top shape. And that's the main thing about my program is it's not only meta ads. Before we even launch the ads, I audit your email, I audit your website, your SMS, and we button everything up, because if you do not have those things dialed, if your AOV is too low, stuff like your pop-up, you're not getting email signups. A lot of times these brands, I've had brands doing literally like 50, 100K a month that like have like one email in their welcome flow. It's like, and so like I just go in there and I don't do anything crazy. I just kind of like fill in all, hey, do this, add this. And then all of a sudden their ads just start, obviously the ad side too, I help them with strategy there. But a lot of the time it's just, you need someone to just tell you what to focus on.
Yeah, it's like holistic too.
And one thing too that I want to speak on is it's so different. Like I work with jewelry, apparel brands, a lot of CPG brands, and it's Advantage Plus is what works majority of the time. But I literally have brands in the program because now I typically launch an Advantage Plus, and I'll launch like interests, and I have brands that like Advantage Plus does not work, but interests work. And like they're or I have other brands where interest won't work and only Advantage Plus works. I know you're a big Advantage Plus. But it's just interesting, like everything has to be customized for your brand. But there is account structures, you can make it work. It's just really figuring out what works for your brand.
No, 100%. It's cool because it's so much to learn when you're starting out. Like I even forget now. Like I think it's been over a year now straight where I've just been obsessed with learning about meta ads. And I start to anyways. You might experience this where you almost forget how much you've learned, so it starts to seem simple. You're like, hey, if things go wrong, start moving these pieces. Here, even looking at the e-commerce funnel from click to sale to the flows. You mentioned the flows, how they can even like you posted an interview that I watched and it was great because like it's talking about even your email and your pop-up can like literally decrease your cost per acquisition, because if more people come through your welcome flow and end up buying, like that's off Facebook, but it matters because then if you get more sales out of that traffic, like Facebook works better. So it's all these things where it's easy to just be like, oh, I made an ad, like my ads aren't working. And it's like, well, okay, let's look at what is going on here and then kind of diagnose the problem.
That's the biggest thing too. It's like, you got to get out of the channels and just I feel like I'm not like I won't say I'm a business coach, but I help with the whole brand, the whole business, the whole back end. We take a look at everything, and that's how you have to be. You can't be so focused and in the weeds on any specific channel. You really have to, I call it optimizing in platform, or like be in the weeds, optimize what you need to optimize, and then you got to take a step back and like, how is everything affecting one another? And that's how you win long term. And yeah, I mean, you've done it with your brand. You kind of continue just to make everything better over time, and then you're able to scale and make. And that's the fun part. It's scaling is fun.
No, it is. It's crazy when you, like I said, when you kind of get that stuff dialed in, and then you get some ads working. That's where so many people, they are a hop, skip, and jump away from taking things from a couple $100 days to $1,000 days, and then before you know it, you can sometimes doubling that is as simple as increasing the budget, which is just a crazy it's a crazy thing, but it's true. But I wanted to ask you, like, kind of, so I've seen over the summer overall, like, costs have been up for me, like acquisition costs have been up. Things have still been working, but I've definitely had I'd say more days that were slower, more expensive than in the past year.
Last year?
Yeah. So I don't know, like, what are you seeing? And I know there's different scales and there's different reasons, but people like get on there, and I know there was a few days of whatever, they're like, oh, Facebook, messed up or whatever. But I'm talking more in general. What are you kind of seeing?
Yeah, definitely. What's cool, I mean, I have access to like over 50 plus brands now, so I'm really able to see kind of a lay of the land at all levels of spend. But yeah, this year's definitely been slower. June was pretty slow. Some of the brands in the group though had their best months. Yeah. So if you're a newer brand, a lot of times there's so much low hanging fruit still.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. But like, as you start to mature as a brand, that's when seasonality comes in. Or you just keep hitting the same people over and over again, which means you need to really change up your creative. But yeah, no, this year it's been a tough up and down year. I mean, I've had clients not super stoked, and you're just really about riding the waves. But yeah, it's been tougher this year. I think there's a lot of macro stuff going on. The Olympics, assassination attempts,
the election,
Biden dropping out. There's just so much stuff going on, especially this month. Prime Day was this month. Just a lot of noise. So yeah, it's been a little bit tough. But at the end of the day, really, it's always about getting back to the fundamentals. That's what I always focus on. To kind of maintain your profitability. And the main thing is too, you have to be ready. When conversion rate is back. Like, that's where, like, you'll see. You'll be fighting, seasonality or macro events or whatever, just people aren't buying like they used to, but there will be a time when that changes, and that's when you have to be ready to scale. Most people, they got used to like not spending a lot because they're scared, and then they're like, when the conversion rate does come back, they're like too scared to scale again, and that's how you smoke everybody, is by taking advantage of that and really pushing, because that's gonna happen. I mean, it hasn't been bad, like super bad, but definitely lower conversion rates, stuff like that. But August typically, especially like end of August, Labor Day in America, typically people back from vacations, ready to spend money on everything else, the holidays, their houses, their kids, whatever it may be, right? So that's when you really want to start ramping up, getting ready to be full steam ahead for like BFCM. So yeah.
No, that's good. And one thing there was just, especially earlier on, which I'd say is like sub like 100K a month, tune out some of that noise, because like you said, there's so much low hanging fruit. It doesn't, like, some of these conversations will not affect you. I remember trying to do that and just, because I was having great months, and then I would hear, oh, it's like bad this month, and I'm like, is it bad for me? It's like, no, just like tune that shit out if like what you're doing is working, and do more of that. So 100% there. And then, in terms of maybe some people who are watching this who are earlier on, they're starting a brand or they're whatever it is, a couple things, but one is just like kind of like granular in terms of like some of these metrics. Like what does running ads look like? I think some people are even surprised, at how much it costs to get a sale on Facebook, and they're like, that's insane. Like, why would I give them $40 for a sale? And you kind of don't understand the play with what you're doing. So even just like, I don't know, typical like cost per acquisitions, AOVs, it's going to depend on the brand, but some of these numbers, like how do you make it work basically?
Yeah, AOV, this has been a huge one where I've been really big on upsells, bundling, how can we get average order value up?
Yeah.
Because that's huge. And again, that can make up for, inefficiencies in other places. But typically, I mean, you want an average order value over $50,
Yep.
like ideally. If you don't, it's gonna be tough. You gotta have a really hot product. I mean, I have some brands in the group that have, lower than $50 AOV, sell $35 products. But they kind of have kind of a moat in the market.
Yeah.
So it's ideally you got to get that average order value up. Sometimes it's as simply as just charging more. Like some of these brands, I'm like, dude, I swear you could charge like $20 more, but they're too scared.
Yeah.
So that's also an option as well. But yeah, average order value of $50 and above typically is where you're gonna want to be. CPA, I mean, really depends. But you wanna, I think the goal, depending on the brand, but the goal should be at least a 3 ROAS in platform is what your goal should be at minimum. Some brands can operate on a 2.
Yeah.
And again, in platform ROAS, so you have a 2 ROAS in platform, but your business, I still use ROAS for both, but your business.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, your MER, people call it that, but like your business ROAS is a 3, in platform is a 2, right? So you got to figure out like what the meta in platform profitable ROAS is, and then you just, as long as you're hitting that, keep going, right? But yeah, typically that would be that you want to, for every $1 you spend, you want to get like $3 back.
Now, the skeptics, I don't know who's watching this, people will say that like you can't do that anymore, right? Like for sure, like that's what I'm hearing. And I guess for context, I was ripping that for a while. We're closer to a 2 overall now on the platform, but it still works because of repeat, because of all these other, the snowball effect. But are you still seeing people get that like around that 3?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, this is where, again, like I said, your retention, your website, why they have to be dialed, because especially if things are slow or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I have some brands that they're at a 2. That used to be at a 3 earlier this year, which I'm sure they'll get back to. But yeah, I mean, I still see. I mean, I have literally a brand launch. They've only done organic. And literally day 1 launched like a 4 ROAS, and they've maintained it. I've never ran ads before, right? A few brands like that. So it's out there. There's so many factors, but I mean, uniqueness of product is huge. Uniqueness of creative is huge. So don't expect to get these high ROASs if you're not trying on your creative. That's the biggest thing. Or like, I know you did a lot of your own creative, right? Unique creative, selfie cam creative, just doing different stuff. If you're not doing different stuff, do not expect like different results.
Yeah,
right?
It's not magic. Like Facebook isn't going to give you magic. I think that's what some people, and maybe that was the case a few years ago, where it was like people just buy shit. But I think that comes back to this next piece, which is like, branding is super important, and that's a wide term, but something I'm super passionate about, and I'm honestly like a challenge for me right now is I want to go see if I can do another brand and make it work as well, because I'm like, oh, did I, is this just, a good timing, or it's because, the market's growing. But I think that's where, especially earlier on, some people can struggle. But to your point, good product, good messaging around the product, like just some depth to the brand where the consumer can latch on to what you're doing, and it's not just, you know, a bottle of supplements with the label slapped on. Like that doesn't work anymore. There needs to be something that speaks to the consumer, whether it is natural products, you know, whether it is going back to like masa chips, like it's okay, no seed oils. What is the, you know, something that I identified, I don't know how original or helpful this is, but like either like a emotion or like utility. Like there has to be a pretty strong either emotional connection or a utility where it's like, oh yeah, that, you know, solves a problem. But I think, yeah, people can sometimes go to Facebook, you know, expect it to drive sales for them when they haven't maybe put much thought or much consideration into the branding side of it, which is really like, you know, who are they speaking to? What does their brand stand for? And like Kill Crew is a great example of that. I mean, they did literally write the book, I guess, the playbook on it. But that emotional connection is huge. So I guess just for anyone starting out, like you need people to have that. It can't just be it's buy one get one half off, or it's, you know, whatever. It's gonna be hard to get your ads to work if there's none of that.
Yeah, you gotta stand for something and like gotta have a purpose. Like that's literally one of the big things I do. My first call with any brand, it's the brand call, and I ask them, tell me your founding story.
Yeah.
You know, what is your mission? What is your vision? What are your brand values? How do you want your customers to perceive you? How do you want people who aren't your customers, the world, to perceive you, right? Like a lot of the times that is a key to success. Once you figure those things out, you figure out your identity as a brand, then everything becomes clear. You know what creatives to make, you know what messaging you want, right? And that's the biggest thing where you know, good product can sometimes bail you out of that, but eventually you're gonna have to get your brand identity in, you know, in a place that people can connect with.
Yeah.
Because again, the consumer is becoming more sophisticated because TikTok, IG, the amount of content people consume is at an all-time high. So if they don't connect with your brand, then they're not going to buy it from you. They're not going to remember you, right?
Yeah.
And the niche has become cool, like Erewhon Market in LA, like, you know, that's like become like a, I would say it's like a corporation, but it's like it feels like you're buying from like a small family, even though it's like a bigger brand now. Like everyone wants to feel like there's buying from that family or from that, they want to, you know, that one guy they know, and they want to feel a connection, right? And so that's literally one of the biggest secret ingredient, and not even a secret ingredient, it's just like actually being authentic is huge, and people love that.
So. Yeah, I think that was a massive breakthrough I had where for some reason, I think it's because I came into Facebook ads years ago in the drop shipping phase, where I almost thought about, you know, I thought, oh, that's what Facebook ads are for. That doesn't work anymore. So, you know, I can't really leverage this for my brand. And it was another dude I met at a conference like a year and a half ago now. It was kind of like, dude, like, are you going to run ads for the brand? And I was like, oh, I think I might just like go on podcasts and stuff and, you know, kind of do it organically. And he was like, you should definitely just, you know, test some ads. And, you know, to this day, one of the best ads that I've had was like a picture of my product. And I'm not saying that's going to work for people, but one of the reasons it worked was because there was some connection, some emotion, some conviction baked into even the, you know, the label on the product. And that stuff that, yeah, it's not a secret, but it's kind of like not a lot of people do that. And that's all stuff that can make your ads just work.
Yeah, one of the biggest things for new brands, new brands watching, there's some brands that their first creative rips, and then they're off to the races, which is awesome. I've had a lot of brands do that. It's amazing, but other times it could take you 10, 20 creatives, and that's one of the biggest things. I just feel like you gotta put an insane amount of reps in.
Yeah.
And be okay with things lost. You know, creative is not working. It's gonna happen. And I say this all the time to all the brands I work with. Like one ad can change your business. Like literally, It's happened time and time again where like literally for some reason that ad gets you, you know, double 2x what you were doing. You're all of a sudden insanely profitable, and then you see the possibility, and then that ignites something in you that you realize this can happen for my brand, for me, right? And so that's my encouragement, is just you got to get there. And it's not gonna. Sometimes it happens right away, but sometimes it doesn't. And, but once it does, you'll know it, and then again, the rest is history usually after that. So
100%. Like when you get one of those, like you can easily spend, you know, 100K plus on like a static image from Canva. So like it doesn't even have to be crazy. Maybe just quickly there on creatives, what do you, I don't know, see working, or what do you recommend people try? There's statics, there's videos. We won't get into too much of the other, I don't know, there's the product catalogs and stuff, but just in terms of people, you know, brands making creatives, I literally tell people, like, go into Canva and just make some shit and test it. But like, what do you kind of recommend for, I guess, the types of creative that you should be trying out, and then maybe even that testing period, what does that look like in a nutshell to spend on a new ad?
Yeah, I mean, for a lot of brands that I work with, especially newer brands, a lot of the times I start with literally their product page photos. Yeah. That's like step one. Sometimes I've had many times where like those literally crushes ads. So that's what I always look for. Organic posts. I always go through the organic socials. And this is how I find mega bangers. I found it for my big agency clients. Like I've literally, you know, just scoured through their social media, and I'm like, dude, for some reason I feel like this crushes an ad. Yeah, had spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on finding things like that. So that's another one. That's like to start. Your organic socials, your product pages. If you have any inklings, I always like, if there's a little, I might think it would work, test it. Mm-hmm. But you know, on the static side, I mean, us versus them is always one you're gonna want to do. Product anatomy is another one where like you just have like
those little arrows
in, just explaining your product is a good one for statics. I'm trying to think what else.
Straight up memes, like you can literally run a meme.
You've done the meme adding. Obviously the kill crew, just throwing stuff on the floor and taking a photo. A lot of simple stuff works, but at the end of the day, though, you gotta have a good product. That's obviously number one. But then on the video side, brand origin videos is a huge one that, like, I wrote this script for one of my big agency clients. It was a mega banger. I call it a holy grail ad. Every single metric was off the charts.
And then what style was that?
It was just how I basically. How I started this $1 million business, basically, or how losing my wife's, or how my wife losing her ring turned into a 8-figure business, right? And so I used that.
Did you post this? I
probably posted it, But then I kind of took that script and kind of shared that with the group, and a lot of the brands ran with it, and they're still, but yeah, truly at the end of the day, it's storytelling. You know. A lot of people, you know, there's a lot of talk about, founders shouldn't be in your ads because you can't sell the company. That's not true. Ruggable, Geneva, the founder of Ruggable, we're still whitelisting through her account for the past 6 years. And like you can still sell your brand, but yeah, people just people want that authenticity. They want that story, and another big one too is like. Fast creatives, even slow creatives, like really just mixing it up because then there's different types of people in the world, like people who can't stand really fast videos that have quick transitions, right? Like I hate that stuff, right? But a slower video, right, taking me through the product or breaking down the product, more my style, right? So you have to optimize or your ad direction, you know, creative direction for each different type of person, because if you're only doing a certain type of video, you're only going to get those types of people, right? So it's really about thinking about all the different types of consumers, and you know, and the big thing too is taking one creative at a time, or like one creative type at a time. Get static images working first, or get videos working first, then you can move on to statics, right? Kind of pick one, get that working, and then you can kind of move on to the other. a big problem brands have is just trying to do too many things at once. And
I remember being like overwhelmed, and that being one reason I didn't even want to do meta ads at the start. And so like really paring it back, and pick statics or just pick founder selfie videos, pick something. And then something else I've learned, which you probably see as well, is if you get something working, there's so many iterations off that you can do. You know, you could pull statics from your founder ad maybe, or maybe it's a static messaging works well. It's like, could you tell a 20-second story in a video along those same lines? And you can like, there's always more creative that branches off. So yeah, pick something simple, just get started.
Yeah, and a big one that I've said on Twitter, but if you're low on cash, Instagram Reels and TikTok, it's a free, it's like playing roulette. You know, you make it creative and you launch it on there, and anything can go viral, anything can get lots of views if it's good creative. So if you are trying to ball on a budget here, just like make creatives or video, specifically video, launch them on Reels, launch them on TikTok. If they do well, test it as an ad. Like that's an easy way to save money too, and a lot of brands I work with do that. And save some money, and then they also builds their organic following, and also gives them ad creative. So
can we touch just maybe quickly on like it's like the sort of TikTok shop thing? I've seen, and once again, at some level shiny object, but at a certain point you can't ignore some of these numbers you see, or even some of these, you know, you've got affiliates making videos and they're crushing it because they're just, you know, driving traffic for brands. You've got different styles. It's a bit of a different kind of animal for sure, but you've got a lot of people. I don't want to say it's teams, but you got people saying, you know, Meta is like the way, and if you get, you know, working on Meta, you know, you're almost like legit. It's like maybe TikTok shops where it's like drop shipping, like gimmicky stuff. But what's your take on that for when it comes to just growing a brand? Like you mentioned that testing organic content, but
yeah, I mean, some of my biggest brands I work with are on TikTok Shop. A lot of them very similar for the Amazon reason. You don't get to keep the data. They charge crazy fees. They have a lot of like stipulations. You got to ship out in a certain time, right? So I mean, TikTok Shop. I've had brands come and do well on TikTok Shop, and then they hop into my group, and then we get them working on Meta. So I think it's a good way for new brands if you want to kind of see if you have product market fit. See if you know you can get some people to buy your stuff, basically at a very cheap cost. But I think it comes back to kind of what you said about you know, putting your products in retail stores and not having control. I think putting your stuff on TikTok Shop and then like having these guys just trying to shill your product. You know, it's kind of like, you know, what type of brand do you want to be? And I mean, I'm not on TikTok as much as I used to be, but I have nothing against it. I run TikTok ads for clients, but TikTok Shop itself, I feel like it's become very just like infomercially or like QVC. And again, you can make a ton of money, but like, I guess, what is the long-term impact for your brand? I don't know. A lot of that stuff's unknown. But I think it's really about like focus, right? And if you know you can take your brand, if you know you have 5, 10, 15 million plus annually revenue you think you can hit via Meta, TikTok Shop's probably not going to do that for you, right? So it's like, and what is a long-term, like Meta's been around for 15 years. The algorithm is mature. TikTok could change, that something could change on TikTok, right? Or on TikTok Shop. So, I think if you could hire someone to do it for you, or maybe the agency, whatever, set it up for you and just kind of see what happens. Low effort, high impact, maybe I would do it. But I think if you got things crushing on Meta and you have a long runway, again, shiny object syndrome is just, it's a big problem for ecom brands. And I've seen ecom brands literally like, they spread too thin and then they die.
Disintegrate.
Yeah. So I mean, I think TikTok Shop's awesome. I think, who knows, they could be they're trying to be the next Amazon, right? But I think there's still a lot of time for things to play out, and
it's interesting. I like to come back to like, and maybe we're getting close to the end here, but something that that the Kill Crew guys harp on in their playbook. And honestly, shout out to that course, which is pretty cheap, all things considered, but I think it's still super awesome resource. It's a few years old now, but I got into it after I launched and got a ton out of that course. I mean, they talk about, like, if you're building a brand here, you know, you want people to come back. You want LTV to be there. You want to be able to spend, like I say, you want to be able to spend like $60 to get a customer on a Meta. That's not ideal, but it's like if you're getting up to 50, 60, knowing that, you know, you're going to be in a place where these people do come back. When you launch more products, they do buy more products. You can end up in a situation where you're not freaking out over ad costs, you know, day to day kind of thing, because you're building for the long term. And like that's that concept that you've been talking about a little bit, which is like build for forever, which is just a much more stable play than how can I get TikTok shop ripping with all these like random affiliates who don't give a shit about my product. It's like that might work really well, but I don't know. I don't know if it's how you build that longer term play. So yeah, what is that concept that you talked about?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that I learned when I was at Ruggable, and I kind of like, this is post being there, this is kind of how I had, I guess, the revelation about what this build for forever framework is. But what I kind of define it as is like, if you were only allowed to build out your email marketing infrastructure once, how would you build it? You know, how would you build out your perfect meta ad structure? How would your website look if you only could work on it for a month and never again, right? And so all these kind of thoughts come into your mind where you know all the things you're supposed to do, and you build it for forever, like, you know, so it could be a machine that lives on forever, right? And this is kind of the concepts that I makes it really easy for me to look at any brand and know what they need to do, because most brands they have, you know, their email marketing's built out 25%, you know, their website's 50%, right? So, you know, and it's not gonna happen all at once, but you take it one by one. You know, all right, we're gonna build out our retention to 100%, where it is a machine, where if someone signs up for their email, 1 out of 4 is buying, right? That's what build for forever in email gets you, right? Same with your website. All the things you know that should be done on there, like, get them done, right? So you take it one at a time. Your ad account, right? What does that mean? Well, build your creative production where you have 5 statics or 2 videos and 3 carousels, etc. All these are happening weekly, right? So you have this, basically, you create this machine that just needs to be serviced, right? And so if you build for forever, build something that can live on for forever, it gives you a map on what you need to do. And man, if you honestly ask yourself, you know, you know
what have I put into this?
Yeah, like, what percentage am I at on my ad account? What percentage am I at on my ad creative? What percentage am I at on my email marketing, right? You know the holes that need to be filled in, and that's what I learned at Ruggable, because we built everything, like every flow you can possibly think of, they have running, like literally. Yeah. And that's not even for that, for their website, for their ads. They run every single ad creative. They're launching hundreds of videos a month, right? So it's like, you gotta, if you create a machine, then people want to buy a machine, right? Because it's consistent, right? Yeah. So if you build for forever, you build something that can live on for forever, and then someone wants to buy that because it makes profit forever, essentially, at that point. So that's kind of the framework. I'm still refining kind of a better way to say it.
It's funny because I haven't actually heard you kind of explain it that way, and that makes a ton of sense, because I actually internalized it even a step, I don't know if further is the right word or different, which is like when you create a brand that you want people to even like stay with forever as customers, it's like, what would you put into that would make them do that? You know, how would they care enough that they do come back? And I know when I started thinking about that, it almost made me, you know, think about what would I be interested in, or why would I care enough to, come back to this brand and to create something that had genuine like stickiness, genuine interest, genuine, once again, like keep bringing them up, like a brand like Kill Crew or Van Man or, my brand has that now too, where I get emails where people are customer for life. Like they're putting up their hand, they're responding to emails, and there's almost this world that's been created around your brand where people are like, they can come back to it. There's enough substance. Maybe that's what it is, where you're creating substance where people can come back to your brand. And it's like, when I think about kind of building for forever, it's like, now there's this new brand. It's almost like this new, like, not to be like spiritual, it's like this new entity that is like, it's like alive, and it's like, it just lives on. And when you put, you're talking about the technical work that is 100%, like you've got to put that in, but even on that, how much do you care, or how, what could you put into this that would make other people care? It's the same thing. And it's like, okay, that can make all the difference when you go to make ads, get customers, and just be proud of what you're building. Like,
yeah, no, I think definitely, I spoke on the kind of like, the technical business machine part of it, but that's definitely on the brand side. Like,
it's both.
Build something that will last forever, that people will care about, and treat it like that. Like, treat your brand better.
Yeah.
Treat, because a lot of the times, once you start doing well, then you get lost in the sauce, right? When in reality, it's like, play the long game, care about your customers, and build for forever on both ends of the spectrum, really. So
dope, man. Maybe we'll end it there. That's awesome. Only other thing would just be hopefully this helps someone who watches it. I think it's crazy what I've done, what you've done, coming from just, seeing some other people build some cool shit and getting inspired and wanting to do it, and then, putting in the work to learn the skills and execute, and there's no telling where it can take you. So awesome.
And everyone's watching. I'm always a resource for meta ads. Just DM me on Twitter. I try to help as many people as possible, even if you're not in my program. So just use me as a resource for,
And like, who, I guess on that note, cause you answer questions and stuff, but what brands do you work with? Like, who's a candidate?
Brands I work with, I'm really open, but I've had brands that literally start at zero and I've scaled them to $80K plus a month. It's got to be a special brand though. I really got to believe in it. I'm not going to tell you to join the program if I truly don't think I can make it work. But typically, if you're doing like 5K, 10K a month or more, and you want to collapse your time frame, because I can, what would take some people 5 years, we can pack it into probably 6 months if you have a good brand. So 5 to 10K plus a month. You don't have to be running ads. Ideally, if you're just doing organic, if that's the best, because then it's just gasoline on the fire. But 5 to 10K a month.
Awesome. On Twitter,
at We Are These Select on Twitter, at Mason on Instagram.
Sweet. I think my Twitter's ecom_cork, and then the brand is The Tell Truth. Check it out, and I think that's it.
That's it.
Peace.
All right.
Alrighty.
Later, guys.
Sweet, dude.
First podcast ever done. All right. Well, damn, we were doing like an hour.
Dude, that was like flying by.